For my magazine research, I studied magazines Rewind and Flavour. Analysing these magazines helped me understand the conventions for the genre of magazine I've chosen to produce, grime. For my front cover, I followed the basic layout of magazine Rewind. My masthead is in sans serif font just like Rewind, however I developed my font to make it look different and stand out more. I challenged the normal conventions for a masthead as I've used two colours for it, whereas the magazines I analysed had only used one simple block colour. However, I think that separating mine into orange and white for the two different words has worked. My inspiration for my main image on my front cover was taken from the image on the Rewind front cover I analysed. I used the same lighting technique to create the orange glow on the side of DeAndre's face. Also, on both the magazines I analysed, the artists featured on the front cover were black. Due to the genre of music I chose, there was a higher percentage of black artists than white or other races. Therefore, I used a black person on the front cover to follow the general conventions. Like most front cover images, my artist is looking into the eye of the camera to connect with the audience. The magazines I analysed had a fairly simple front cover, therefore my cover lines were just the names of artists that were featured in the issue. I challenged the conventions of my contents page as I put a panel of pictures on the left-hand side and another picture on the bottom right, which blends into the background. However, the text layout follows its convention. My double-page spread follows conventions as the layout is similar to most magazine double-page spread articles. The colours also follow my house theme. I have put a quote on the page with the main image on it. Most magazines put an artist quote next to the image. All of the artists featured in my magazine fit into the stereotype of people that listen to grime music. The majority of people that are big in grime are black. However, there are a lot of white artists, therefore I used white people too. My double-page spread, How Cannabis Influenced My Career. This is representing this particular social group negatively, however it will appeal to the audience who is reading it. This type of magazine appeals to the younger generation, as grime artists are generally ranged from about 16 to 30 years old. However, I believe that the magazine audience will not reach over the age of 25. The fashion of the artists featured in my magazine are all similar to each other. They do not vary much within different styles, flat caps, hoodies, Adidas, Nike, etc. Due to their fashion, they are negatively looked down on by other people, mostly of the older generation. However, my target audience will be interested in what they are wearing and will aspire to look the same. All of the artists featured in my product are males. Most grime artists are males, however there are a few female artists. My product will be distributed in a fashion shop targeted at the same audience as my magazine. This is due to the fact that my target audience wouldn't necessarily go into a music shop under the influence of buying a magazine, or even a large chain of food stores. For example, Sainsbury's. Shop JD distribute Rewind magazine as the style of clothing they are providing appealed to a certain social group, the same social group as my magazine is targeted at. The institution I would want to distribute my magazine to would be Pilot, a fashion store whose target market is the same as my magazine. The shop plays really loud music, as the people that shop there are stereotypically big fans of music, and plays the same type of music my magazine is representing. Therefore, I think Pilot would be a good institution to distribute my product. The majority of my audience for my magazine would be males ranging from 15 to 30 who like grime music. However, a small minority would be females of the same age group. There is a large amount of people that like grime music, and I believe that they are represented negatively in society. The audience to my magazine look up to artists, like the artists featured in my magazine, therefore their appearances would look fairly similar to the ones in my magazine. Grime music appeals to a lot of young black people, therefore I believe a large amount of my audience would be black. My masthead of my magazine, Grime Times, will attract my audience as the colour of my font contrasts with the background and stand out on the page. Instantly my audience will know this is a grime magazine due to the obvious hint in the name of my mag. The font of my masthead will also appeal to the audience as it's a sharp-edged graffiti-type font, and it will interest the stereotypical fan of grime music. The artist on my front cover is looking directly into the camera, which will address to the audience as it looks like he's looking into the viewer's eyes. The artist on my front cover is a representative for my genre, and the people who are into grime will instantly recognise this by the composition of the image, lighting, mise-en-scène, headphones, hoodie. The cover lines of artists on my front cover will address to my audience as they are big artists. They are sure to be recognised by the audience. The colours of my house style will attract my audience as the colours bounce off each other, and the lighting on the side of my artist's face merges the colours together, making it look more appealing. The story on my double-page spread could address the audience as a lot of them could probably relate with the issues raised, and personality of artist Easy might appeal to them. To create the specific appearance for my magazine, I had to use a number of different technologies. To capture the right photograph of my front cover, I used lighting equipment and my own SLR camera. I learned how to get a coloured light on the side of the main subject by putting filter paper over the powered studio light. I didn't edit my photograph after I took it, however I did use Photoshop to create each of my magazine pages. I learnt a number of techniques on Photoshop that I didn't know about before. For example, I now know how to insert a number of different layers onto the page and insert images, and use the eraser tool to blend it in with the background. When making my double page spread, I used the ruler tool to show me the width of my page, so I would know what measurement of the halfway split would be, and I also used guides to make sure I kept the correct text in the right sections. I edited my photos on my contents page using the black and white tool adjustment. The picture on my double page spread has been edited on my own software photo editing called Photoscape. I changed the effect of the photo to black and white and then used an effect called Velvia and deepened the lighting. By doing this, I am experimenting with different techniques and widening my knowledge on photo editing software. I have learnt a lot from when I created my student mag for my preliminary task to making my final product. By doing my task analysis into researching other magazines, I have learned what type of images work well on the magazine front cover, contents page and double page spread. Front cover images must address to the reader and ideally be looking into the lens of the camera, whereas when creating my student mag I did not capture the right images as proportion was not correct and the image in general just did not work. When constructing my layouts for my different pages, the magazines I were researching beforehand helped me construct my layout as I used it for a guideline, and then learnt a different technique on Photoshop to help me perfect my layout. I have progressed on text positioning as my preliminary task my font was right against the edge of the front page, and the positioning was poor. I now understand what works with the text and what does not. On my contents page in my student mag there was a lot of dead space which does not look appealing. My final product lacked dead space as I evenly positioned my text and pull quotes to prevent having dead space. Also, the masthead of my student magazine was poor too. The font did not stand out of the page, whereas when I was creating my final product I made sure to get the correct colours that bounce off the page but go well together.